Jay calling in from Indiana. Hey, Jay, you're live on Truth Wanted. What's up?
Hi, Puck. Hi, Dan. And I just want to say, Dan, I've been watching your show for a while, and you're looking good, dude. You're looking pretty fit and everything.
Appreciate it.
I just wanted to call in and kind of, I've never heard anything on your show before about Falun Dafa, which is I don't know if I call it a religion, but something that I've been practicing for a few years. Have you ever heard of that?
I'll be honest. I'm not sure. Is that related to Falun Gong?
It's the same. Yeah, it goes by both names.
Okay. Okay. Then I have heard of it. Yeah.
Okay.
So tell us about it then. 'Cause I'm not an expert. I just know it's a thing. I know it's a Chinese thing. It's like a Chinese practice. But the thing about, just real quick, I know you want to explain. My understanding of Chinese spiritual traditions is that they're a lot different than what we think of in the West, because like they have different. China has different like spiritual traditions that come in different times, but they aren't like religious in the same sense that we in the West call it religious. It's not always a relationship between man and God. It's sometimes just like a relationship between like man and nature. And there's like spiritual components to it, but like the afterlife and other things like aren't as heavily emphasized. And I think if I'm understanding right, Falun Gong is like kind of one of those practices, right?
Right. It evolved out of a practice called Qigong, and which is in the West we could probably think of like Tai Chi as the equivalent. So it's like a kind of a meditation through like body movement. And so the main practice of Falun Gong is these 5 body movement exercises that you're supposed to do every day to keep you healthy. And then the idea of doing these is supposed to keep you healthy every day. It's a little wacky, but they have practice sites set up all over America. I'm not Chinese at all. But they have practice sites set up all over America, all over the world and everything that you can show up to for free. All their books and lectures and everything is on their website for free. You do have to pay if you want like a hard copy or whatnot, everything. There is some stuff that I completely don't agree with at all in there. Like the founder, Li Hongzhi, is, he's against gay people. And he thinks that, like once you start doing this, like women who are past menopause will start having like their period again because it's not healthy, which I'm like, that's kind of nuts, but
yeah,
that's starting to stretch it a little. Yeah.
Yeah. I
mean, it's beyond stretching it. It's just nuts, but I've shown up their practice sites. And the people are, they're super nice and everything. And the Chinese Communist Party is, it's illegal in China. So after like a protest they held in 1996 or 1999, I can't remember which, but they held a protest against the Chinese government in China, and it became illegal in China. And then they started imprisoning anybody who practices. And then there's this whole thing where, their website and all the people there are claiming that they're imprisoning people to steal their organs and whatnot.
Yeah. But it's okay.
So that's
so
like the big.
The information where a lot of that comes from, though, a lot of that's from the Epoch Times. Are you aware of the Epoch Times?
I'm not.
Okay, so the Epoch Times is, how do I put this? It's a newspaper made by a cult, affiliated kind of with the Falun Gong movement. Actually, if you go to some stores here in Austin, you will find some Epoch Times newspapers, and because they have some bases here in the West. And so, Falun Gong is associated with this kind of group that produces the newspaper. And China, they have there's reasons why they would ban religious practices. Christians kind of make it out because they're an atheist state and stuff. It's a little more complicated than that. I mean, they just want to have kind of, my understanding is kind of unilateral control. And with a lot of authoritarian regimes, you do that through eliminating kind of religious practice, because that can inseminate kind of ideas against the state and stuff, right? And Falun Gong is one of those ideas. So they try to make like Tai Chi like the state practice and stuff there, right? It's a really fascinating thing. But the Falun Gong is associated with this newspaper, and they make these stories about organ harvesting and stuff. And the problem with some of those stories is we in the West can't verify a lot of what's going on. It's definitely true that members of Falun Gong and Christian minorities and Muslim minorities and all kinds of religious minorities have been arrested by the state. And that's like not really under contention. But what kind of happens with those prisoners and the organ harvesting, some of it might be real, but some of it might not be, because we just don't have the kind of verification that we would like with our prison systems and what goes on here. But that's my understanding of the situation. If somebody has more information on that and wants to correct me, then feel free to call in. But it's really complicated and it's really, really weird.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so on here, the call screener says that you've seen some positive results. Do you mean like doing the exercises recommended or the meditations? Like, what can you tell me more about what you mean by positive results?
Yeah, absolutely. The exercises, they just like, I feel more fit. I feel they call them exercises, but it's not like what we would think of in the West as exercise. It's not like running or anything. It's just, it looks probably a lot like Tai Chi, but it's the same exercises, the same 5 exercises every day. It takes about an hour of just kind of slow movement meditation. Okay. And I've seen a ton of positive results from it.
So there's a lot of benefit to being mindful about body mechanics and ergonomics and balance, and all these things are very, very good to learn about. And where I'm a little on the suspicious side of this, if you'll forgive me for a moment, is that when they start selling you on that, when they say, hey, this works, you should try it, it becomes easier to sell you on the more outrageous stuff. Now, you said something very good in there, which says, you said there's some really out there beliefs that you haven't bought into yet. But this is how it starts. And we see this in a lot of different religions and even self-help books, right? They do these things and they'll help your life. You notice some positive results, you attribute it to those things that you were doing. That must mean that the reason for those, the spirituality behind it, has something to it. You could probably get some positive results if you just did We Fit, right? It's hard to tell exactly what you're going to attribute that to. But that's the first place it goes to, is because when you start thinking about, being mindful about your life and being mindful about your posture, then it becomes easier to sell you on thetans. And then it just starts snowballing from there, especially once they've got you in a community with that also. Are there probably some things that are useful in this? Yeah. I mean, if you look in the Bible, there's actually some pretty good advice there sometimes. But that doesn't mean that the spirituality behind it is real, and it doesn't mean that everything about the Bible is going to be good things to follow. So just if you find it helpful, I would try to start figuring out what it is that's helpful about it, instead of just Falun Dafa itself, which I don't know much about. I'm going to have to look this up after the show.
It's look, I don't like, obviously you've gotten a lot out of this practice, and I think Puck has explained what the reason why that is, but I'd be really cautious in looking to Falun Gong. Are you familiar with Shen Yun? Have you ever seen those billboards with the the ballet for Shen Yun?
And I actually, so one of the practitioners got me a ticket because she works for them, and I went to them to see them, and I left about halfway through because I was really confused.
So
it seemed they were, so the founder is Li Hongzhi.
Yes.
And in all the books and everything, it's like don't worship me, I'm like not, like a god or anything. But like when I was watching Shen Yun, like halfway through, I was like, they're like worshiping this guy like a god, like, and I was like, that's not what I thought this was.
So this is the problem with Falun Gong. They present themselves as this ancient Chinese tradition, when actually, as it's more of a modern movement. And also, the Shen Yun performances. I mean, you've seen them in Austin here too. You see these like, oh, look at this. It's like this cultural Chinese tradition and stuff like that. But like none of that is ancient. None of that is historical. It's put on by Falun Gong to get people into their religious movement. And those stories talk about how atheism sucks, evolution's not real, gay people need to stop doing their thing, and it's like very anti-state, the Chinese state and stuff, and like that's all part of that movement. And the Epoch Times themselves, if you look at that, like they like QAnon, and they really like they promote a lot of conspiracy theories about the Trump presidency and stuff. It's pretty bad. I would suggest looking into it some more before you continue to give money to this organization, just so you know exactly what you're doing.
I've never given money.
Okay, great.
Good.
They don't accept money. It's not there's no way that I know of to donate to it. That's one of the things that kind of drew me in, is like these meditation sites and everything you go to. There's no, it expressly states in the books and that everything that you cannot and should not give money to anybody that proves the church, or not church, but there's no leaders of the practice or anything like that. It's just you show up, you do your thing, and you leave.
And it's funny you say that, because the people at the Epoch Times, I think the New York Times did a piece on this or something. The people making that newspaper, like a lot of them aren't paid because of that philosophy. That they're all trying to volunteer and make this newspaper, which is fine. We're an organization made up of volunteers, but we don't do it under like religious pretenses. You know what I mean? But yeah,
right.
like it's
obviously Shen Yun's earning money, so I mean that's one way they're earning money. But like I just didn't think that they were. I don't know. I guess I didn't think they were that heavily connected. Maybe they are.
Yep, they produce that ballet. Yeah, that's one of their ways of getting people into the movement, and it's more than what we could cover here in the short time on this call-in show. But I'm glad I got to talk about it. I haven't thought about Falun Gong in a long time,
and I have research to do. So
yeah, what are we shocked? Is this shocking, Jay? Is this? Yeah, what's up?
I do want to warn people real quick. That Shen Yun show is a ballet. It's the commercials make it look like there's going to be people flying through the air and stuff. It's not. It's just literally like
yeah. That's what I've heard too. But I would not suggest if anybody offers tickets and stuff. I remember in the last business I worked at, one of their people came and was like, "Oh, can we put up posters in your business and stuff?" I was just like, "No, I know what you guys are about. I don't like that." So really interesting.
It's
please,
people
check it out. But Jay, I hope I don't know if we blew you. Sound like you knew a little bit about it, but I hope we blew your mind here, because it is kind of a crazy story with how that starts. But we got some other callers to get to. Did you have any last words about your practice or anything? No,
I appreciate you having me on. Thank you.
Thank you, Jay.
Absolutely. Have a good one. It's wild.
I'd never heard of this.
Yeah, go to.
I have research to do. No, I know about that ballet that you're talking about, because there's a mall about a mile away. There's a kiosk that it opens up every so often that talks about this ballet. I had no idea there was such a deep story behind this. Yeah, so I know what I'll be doing after the show.
If you live in a big city, go to your local gas station and see if they have a copy of the Epoch Times. And you'll find they have some weird propaganda videos on YouTube as well. But yeah, most recent stuff I was hearing about them was that they were in support of Q and QAnon, because they have this whole thing about how Donald Trump is supposed to help, kind of they want Donald Trump to kind of liberate the Chinese people and stuff. This belief system goes really deep. And not deep in like intellectual kind of way, more like a crazy nonsense kind of way. But yeah, it's strange and it's perfect for Truth Wanted. I'm glad we got to talk about it, but we got some other callers.